VEDMA is an electronic music producer and performing artist based in Bristol, UK. The self-proclaimed Obscene Machine dropped their latest project on July 3rd of this year. The debut album is titled Vertebræ, and I sat down with them prior to the release to discuss the record, track by track, and get some insight into where they are artistically at this point in their career. Excited that your new album, by the time this interview comes out, will be out. Vertebræ.
Yeah.
Let's get into it already.
Mm-hmm.
What does the title mean for you? I know there's a title track, but what does Vertebræ mean for you?
It's like this album's about me building my backbone, basically, and which is the vertebrae. I think you have like 26 or something like that. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but it's my army, my backbone. It's my confidence, I guess, and I think that's the theme of the album is very much confidence, like self-confidence, self-growth.
Finding your confidence.
Yeah, being a slut, because being a slut is all about confidence, basically.
I know that's correct, but yeah. I've been noticing as I've been listening through the album that there do seem to be a lot of songs where confidence is kind of put to the side and you're a bit more vulnerable and you really get into your kind of moments of not being so confident. On one of the album outtakes, Balaclava, for instance, you kind of do talk about self-image and such. So what does a balaclava mean for you? Am I even saying that right?
Yeah, balaclava.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The
balaclava kind of symbolizes for me and why it became an integral part of my image. It's my mask. I have trouble showing emotion and like expressing my feelings and whatnot, and I don't feel comfortable doing it a lot of the time. And I think for me, I wanted to express stuff in my music because I didn't just want to be this, like, you know, novelty sex act, I guess, because that was the route it was going down, it seemed. And then I wanted to kind of be a little bit more vulnerable, but I had a hard time doing that, especially with the image that I'd already created for myself. So I introduced the balaclava, and it kind of meant that like I was different when I had it on. I was more confident, but I could be vulnerable too, and it wouldn't show either way. You wouldn't really know what was what, I guess. Yeah, Balaclava is a great song. It's a great song.
Yeah, no, I love it, and we'll definitely get into it. We're gonna go track by track. But would you say that the balaclava almost is like an alter ego or like another persona of yours?
I think I wouldn't really say that it's an alter ego. It's how I present myself, like in my releases, I guess, like, because I do show my face, but more like when I'm releasing music and like my album artwork, it's just a part of my image. I think it's something that will stay. Maybe not the balaclava itself, but like face coverings. But I think the balaclava was integral to this album cycle because of the kind of context and the concepts and themes that were being explored.
And as I've been listening to the album, I definitely pick up a lot of references, a lot of influences. There's house music, there's noise music, there's, you know, even some elements of pop. And so I'm interested to know, who are some of your influences? What are some of your influences?
I mean, when I was making this album, like over the past, I'd say, course like of a year, it definitely a lot of, well, Brooke, as we were talking on our little pre-call, like Brooke Candy, it kind of was a huge influence on more like songs more like hardcore XXX, the kind of more like poppy ones. Orange was like weirdly inspired by Arca. I think the vocal manipulation, a lot of Arca, a lot of Peaches is like just the biggest inspiration for VEDMA in general, like not necessarily just this album, like VEDMA as a whole is kind of like built on my like undying love for that woman, I guess. Yeah, Brooke Candy, there's even like when it comes to people like Alice Glass, of like formerly known from like Crystal Castles and stuff, and like Grimes a little bit in the kind of heavier aspects, I think, but more like production wise than like vocal. I don't know. I just kind of, I make what I like to make. I listen to so much shit. Like I'm constantly listening. I have like favorite artists, I guess you could say, but I will just listen to anything a lot of the time, and I will be listening to this random playlist. I won't know any of the songs, and then I'll hear like a track, and I'll like a part of the track, and I'll be like, okay, cool. I want to kind of make something like that, and then I'll never hear the song again.
You know, and you mentioned the vocal manipulation being something that you draw influence from, and that's kind of one of my favorite elements of your music is kind of the way that you do mess with your voice. It's different on just about every single one of the songs. Yeah. And I know that you don't like to identify yourself as a singer, you don't identify as a vocalist or a rapper in any capacity, but I think that's kind of what brings that interesting edge to your voice in the music.
Well, yeah, I'd say when people ask me what I do, I kind of like to more call it performance art.
Yeah.
In a way, that though it is not being performed to the eye, I'm performing it onto my Ableton, and then the Ableton is bringing it to the people. Exactly. I don't know. It's a bit weird. It's all very strange.
But it turns out good in the end, so we can't complain.
Yeah.
And so, getting into the opening track, the title track, Vertebræ, this was one of those instant classics to me where it was just immediately stuck in my head. The hook is so catchy, the production is just very polished, and even though that may not even be what you're going for, but I definitely see what you were talking about with the song, you know, the album being about having a backbone. And I was kind of picking up influence or like messaging of not settling for less than the things that you desire and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm interested to hear kind of more on your backstory of that song.
I was sat at this exact desk with this exact setup, and I just had that weird beat that happens at the beginning, like before any of the drums come in or anything, that just like weird sound effect that is there. And it was just on a loop, and I just kept like trying to think of something. I was just like, you know, bitch, I'm strong. Bitch, I'm strong. And then I was like, bitch, I'm strong. I don't need a man. And even if I did, and I just kind of kept like improvising it, I guess. It was kind of fun. I took a lot, that song is also very like Arca influenced. I was going through the Kick series around the time of like the beginning of the recording of the album, and Vertebræ was like the first song like in those sessions that I went to, so that is probably like the most inspired by that sort of stuff. I was like going through a shit time. Like 2023 was just an awful fucking year, and then like come January when I decided to start recording the song and writing the song, you know, I just needed a pick-me-up, I guess, and I needed a mantra, like a song that like I could go back to if I felt like I was like being knocked down. I could listen to that song and be like, stop, you are that bitch, you are that bitch. And I feel like it is most definitely that bitch anthem, for sure.
It is an anthem. And so the next track, XXX, or is it triple X?
It's hardcore triple X.
Okay. Well, that is track 2.
Naughty.
Very, very self-assured, very knowing your limits. It's fetishistic. It's your most fetishistic song on the album. I love the 90s breakbeat moment that kind of happens in the song. Tell me about it.
So I've been writing this song over the course of probably like, it's had a lot of, maybe not like actual like physical executions, but in my head, I've been working on this track since probably like 2020.
Okay.
So many different like demos and stuff, like back when I used to make songs on my fucking iPhone on GarageBand, back when I used to use Fruity Loops. It's been on a lot of different DAWs, that's for sure. It's, I don't know, I wanted something to be dirty just for the purpose of it being dirty, I guess. If we were having this interview about like 5 years ago, then I would be saying music nowadays is taking itself way too seriously and not enough people are able to have fun, because like you would not, like, anytime someone like just didn't care or like was having fun, they would get dragged straight away because they weren't releasing like a Lemonade, or they weren't like, do you know what I mean? And then it was just really starting to bug me. And I feel like that's a lot about like what VEDMA is just about anyway. It's just like carefree, having fun, just making music for the fun of it, I guess. This is why it's not my job, and that's why I can't do this.
But see, I think it still turned out very well, because for it to be a song that's dirty just to be dirty, and you know, just something that you did for fun, I think it still has once again a great chorus, great production.
Yeah.
Flawless every
Yeah,
time.
I think like the formula of it, like, this is why it's also like the most pop song as well, because the formula of pop works so well with just like carefree. You know, obviously, like, I think it's actually quite an achievement to make a pop song that does have meaning, and like a lot of meaning, but like to make a pop song that has like no meaning at all, like, is just as fun, but also just as challenging, I think, too.
And so the album takes a sharp turn on track 3, Infected.
Yeah.
Tone-wise, thematically, sonically, everything, it seems to shift here on that song. I'm noticing you're using a metaphor of an infection to describe a breakup.
Yeah.
And so, how much do you want to get into that song?
You know,
We could even talk about the production choices. I noticed your voice is very different on this song. It's almost raw in the same way that it is on the closing track as well, but
yeah,
I noticed the vocal production is very vulnerable, and I don't know how to get into it, really.
it's very muddy.
Yeah.
I think, like, you know, I've always been known to be very honest about kind of like my lack of knowledge of like music production and stuff, and like, you know, my amateurability of it. Like, I just kind of it's not very good. The vocal production's not very good, but then I also think like that's what adds to the charm of a lot of my music is that I am able to still kind of like convey like a good emotion and like get the themes and like content like still sounding very good and like a well kind of put together sound. It's a bit messy sometimes, I guess, but like, I don't know, Infected it's one of those ones where like it would fit on like an old bootleg back in like, I don't know, the 90s on like some like dark underground German like
It
industrial
definitely
techno CD.
it is a standout, but I think it's also a grower, and I think it's one of those songs that the more you listen to it, and especially someone like me who is used to listening to demos, I've heard the worst my voice has ever sound. You know, there's so many different things that I think it's not that it's hard to listen to, it's just different, you know?
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
I quite like I feel like that's actually one of the closest that I have been to like actually singing on a song as well, like in the chorus.
Yeah.
And I think the way I doubled my vocal sounded quite cool. I think, to be fair, I think the vocal production of the chorus isn't too bad at all. It's just the verses. But if I'm gonna be real with you, like, I recorded the verse on my iPhone.
See, it's stuff like that if you never told me, I would have never known.
Yeah,
But
I think, yeah, like, I make choices, and sometimes they're choices that shouldn't have been made. But like at the end of the day, like, it's happened. I think, you know, there was a period of time where Infected was not going to be on this album, and I was like heavily against having it on there. Also, just because like the background of that song is messy. It's not like something. You know, I'm happy that I made it, and like I do love the song. I wish like things weren't so bitter around the kind of like theme of that song. And it was I wasn't okay. And I
Right.
was kind of like going through it, and I was being quite like, I don't know, vindictive, I guess. And the song it's very much like me blaming someone sort of to the full extent when like that shouldn't have been the case. So like it's a bit sour, but I thought like, it's still a good track, and it is essential into the storyline of like what this album's trying to convey, because I am like, that's kind of the thing that I'm building myself back up from. So it's
Right.
good to have there.
And continuing on with the theme of that song is the next song, Sewage, which was also the opening track. I mean the lead single for
Yeah.
this upcoming album. I noticed this song seems to kind of represent the album perfectly with conveying both the serious themes, but it also brings the kind of club readiness that a lot of the album does have. So, tell me about that song.
I was in work one day and I was really pissed off, and then I was just trying to like I like to like I'm someone that thinks of a song title before I write the song. Sometimes it's great having that, but it's also a curse, because if you can't think of something to go along with it, you're done. So you have to get rid of that title, even though it could have been the best thing in the world. And Sewage was actually kind of like one of those ones where I was trying to like make metaphors of like someone being like gross and whatnot, but like it not being cringy at the same time. Yeah, I was just trying to make it not cringy, I guess. And and then it hit me that like ill is in sewage, and I was like, how has no one thought of this before? How? I mean, come on, someone probably has. But in my mind, like, I was like, this is the greatest hook ever. You put the ill in sewage, like, fuck yeah. I was like, this has to be a thing. And then I kind of definitely wrote it around that. Like, that was the chorus. It went through like a lot of different like verse changes. Like, I know you've heard the demo, but you heard like basically just an early mix more than anything. I was just like fed up of like people at that time, and also just like I'd been going through something with another boy. It was another diss track about a boy, basically, and I was just like, he kind of like was buttering me up just to like, so we could do things, I guess. And then once those things happened, I was like kind of like tossed to the side, and I was like, oh, I don't really appreciate that. You're kind of gross. And that's where sewage came from.
The next track, Orange. I love this song because it's very difficult to write a repetitive song like that. A song where you're kind of repeating the same thing over and over again, but in a way that it doesn't get redundant and it doesn't get boring. And like, yes, it's predictable, but it's still something you can dance to and get along, like get down to. And I love
with songs like that, it's all down to the production of it. If you've got your production like in lock, then I think having a repetitive song is so easy. That's the beauty of a lot of techno. It's the beauty of most electronic like dance music anyways. It's like all of them have the repetitive lyrics, but it's when the beat is kind of whack, that's when you're not liking it. Orange is more production focused than like any of the other tracks on the album, I would say. And it's the song I'm probably actually most proud of, and I think it's one of the songs that had like the most, it doesn't sound too dissimilar from the demo, but it had a lot more progression, and you can tell the kind of like the stages that went into kind of perfecting each layer of the song, like from the demo to the final. The like OG version of the song was completely different. It was based on it was kind of this weird like pop, like cheer squad song, I guess, kind of like sleazy hip hop pop trap influenced, kind of like ORANGE. And it was like, it was so lame. And then I was like, I need to VEDMAfy it, because I do start off a lot of songs like not sounding like they would be anything that I make. And then I'll get that kind of bass layer down. I'll be like, right, let's VEDMAfy it. And Orange was VEDMAfied times 100, I think.
And so what was kind of your motive of even writing a song like that with like an Orange You Glad kind of Lyricism. What made you want to bring that to the table?
I don't really know. Like, it's a really strange song. I feel like I really popped off with the Orange Glad. How like even getting that lyric to sound sexy at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
No, I
so weird,
love
and I
it.
think it's I'm very much into like fruit metaphors for sex. I think like, but it's also kind of it's quite disturbing in a way. It's just I think the perfect word to describe orange is just strange. It's like taste the flesh, lick my skin, like peel back the skin, taste the flesh of the inside, like citrus, sticky. It's just it's strange. I really just wanted to do something like that. I wanted to have my weird girl moment because I feel like I was kind of having I was having my alt girl moment on a lot of the other tracks, but I wasn't having like my weird girl moment. I feel like this is the Bjork of all of the tracks. This is the one that like the other girls are kind of like, ew, who is she? Why is she so weird? But they love
But it's
her, but they're intrigued by
they're
her.
intrigued. We're all intrigued. And
Yeah, yeah.
something, once again, carrying on, continuing with the sex theme of the album, we have Night in Berlin. I find this to be the sexiest song on the album.
Hell
I
yeah.
love, the use of German, the use of, like the, what are you gonna do to me? Kind of like, okay, like I'm getting into it. But like,
Yeah.
when you and I were having a conversation previously, you had stated that this song was originally written in German,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it was. It
So
was.
tell the audience, let's recount that story because I know you've already told me, but I think it's a good story.
Well,
You act reluctant.
I just like, I don't know. I wrote the song when I was quite young. Like, not like, I was like 17, I want to
That's not
say. I
bad.
wasn't, I wasn't of legal age,
If it
but
makes you
like,
feel better, on my album Pheromones, I think I was 15 when I wrote Pheromones.
okay, yeah, all right. Okay, yeah. Like,
It
well, actually,
happens.
yeah, I don't know. It was all in, it was fucking, it was just kind of like, shit. It was a combination of shit Google Translate and then like my friend Noah giving me like lines in German to sing. Um, we have this joke that like I'm gonna record like 1 hour extended remix version of just me saying dirty like pillow talk in German. um,
That would
it
be
might
fun.
happen. It might happen one day. But like if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, like we like the original demo of the song is like gone. And my friend has like tried to find like the original lyrics for it. And we couldn't. So then I wanted to bring this song back. Um and it like luckily if it wasn't for Noah like actually telling me I knew how the chorus went. It was just the Eine Nacht in Berlin, and I remember the bass line, like the like I remember all of that, but then I had to literally get him to remind me of like basically every other part of that song. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna make this. And then um I had booked a trip to go to Berlin, and I was like, well, I want to get this song done like for when I go there so I could play it to people. And I wanted to kind of like film some visuals and like do some stuff when I was there, but I never ended up doing that. But yeah, it's a really, I don't know, like Berlin's just hot. It's sleazy. It's
It's
really
fun.
sleazy and sexy, and like the song is made, it's a Kit Kat Club soundtrack song. I think it's like I got up to stuff when I was in that club, and I think it's like it's Night in Berlin is just, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I have a lot of those in my discography.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we need to have that conversation like on another call because I have this conspiracy theory that my album Alpha was also a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if you ever decide to do a remix of that song, feature me.
Okay, yeah, I'm here for that.
Because I am German. I
Oh
can't
my
speak
God!
German.
Oh,
It's in my lineage. My grandparents are German, but
I mean, it's still something.
and I took German in high school, so I mean.
I took German in high school too. Do I remember much of it? No.
That got to do with it. So, closing track, and I know that this is your biggest defender on the album, so I'm interested to get you riled up on Obscene Machine.
Yeah.
It is a very self-defining song. It is very anthemic. There is interesting production choices being made on this song. Tell me about it.
It's literally just a fucking 4/4 kick drum.
You said it's actually the
blaring
worst
alarms.
song.
What did you say?
You said it's the worst song. Horrible.
No, it's not. I would never say this song is my baby. It like
Mhm.
quite literally is my baby. I think I spent so much time perfecting it and like also writing it. It's had like it's got a few verses, like enough verses to probably do like an extended mix of like another 2 minutes, I'd say. Like, it was basically just meant to be. It's a song that's meant to be played live. It's a song that it works great as an opener. It works great as a closer. It's, I don't know how to describe this song in a way without just me gawking over it. Like when I came to writing this, like I subtitle myself now as the Obscene Machine. Like if you go on any of my socials, that's what I kind of refer to myself as. That's my subtitle. And I always like, this is my fuck the pain away. If you like, right? So I think it's cocky, it's abrasive, it's me, it's the epitome of VEDMA.
One thing I noticed as I was listening to the demo is you sound so much more confident on the album version than you did in the demo. I'm noticing, even though you might not see yourself as a vocalist, you're getting more comfortable being a vocalist.
Yeah, I think it's actually a funny story. So obviously the demo vocals were not the final vocal take that I'm talking about in the context of this story, but I had a different final vocal take, and I mixed it, I mastered it, and then like it was ready, and then I just listened to it when I was walking to work the next day, and I was just in shock disbelief of how awful it sounded, and like how like not confident I sounded, how like muddy my vocals sounded and everything. And then this was also with my old microphone, so this is my new mic, and then Obscene Machine was the first song I recorded on this microphone, and it came the day after that I finished Obscene Machine. So I got home from work and I just plugged it straight into my laptop and I just did one vocal take, like, and it was more of a thing. This is kind of why I sound a bit frustrated, like angry on the song, but I'm not trying to sound angry. I was just trying to get this shit done, like, I guess. And I was kind of rushing myself. I was like clipping the mic, like it was all peaking. It was awful. And then I was like, no, I'm going to delete this. Going to take an hour. I'm gonna come back to it. And then I did the final vocal take, and it was just me, like, I wasn't tense, I was like relaxed, I had my mic stand, and I was just like eyes closed, like I didn't even need the lyrics with me. I was just literally reciting it all in one take, basically. And then I was then I was done with the song. And
you mentioned your influences, one of which being Peaches, and I think this is one of those songs where the Peaches influence is most head forward.
Yeah.
Like, so was that kind of a conscious decision or no?
Yeah, for sure. I kind of been going through a bit of like a creative block. I made Infected, and I at this point had also released Infected back in July of last year, and I was having a difficult time kind of trying to figure out what direction I wanted to go, because I had set in on this like the kind of harsh breakbeat, kind of a bit more like dark sounding. Like I went that direction for Infected, and I was thinking, what do I carry on with that, or what did I really want to do? And then I was listening to a lot of Peaches, but then also I was listening to a lot of techno music, specifically kind of like industrial tech or like hard tech. And I think the rawness of like Peaches's first album, with it literally just being made on her Roland 505 and a microphone basically, and like that rawness really translates to the sound of like hard tech and like a lot of like industrial techno music. And I feel like I wanted to kind of just like merge the two together and just make this really like cocky, sexy, like, but it's still at the same time kind of like punk, like anti-conformity song, to like this like blaring alarm, like really harsh, abrasive thing. It just, I wanted to like embody confidence, I guess. And I feel like obscenity is a big part of my confidence, I guess, being very vulgar and whatnot. Like I like pushing that a bit, and that's definitely from Peaches too, because I mean the woman would literally run around naked on stage. I've seen it live. It was great.
So we've got through the album. Now we need to discuss some of the outtakes, because one thing that I thought was funny was another time I was having a side conversation with you one day, and I had asked you why you would cut two of the songs. And your reply to me was, how did you even know? And I had to remind you that you had already published the track listing as part of the album announcement. And then I noticed it went from 9 tracks to 7 tracks. Of course I was gonna notice. So first,
I don't know what you're talking about.
So first I would like to know, why did you cut Balaclava from the track list?
Well, Balaclava is going to be breathing new life soon.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to be saying about that one.
Perhaps a deluxe edition?
Not a deluxe.
Oh.
Oh.
So is it Balaclava or is it New Body?
It's Balaclava is the instrumental.
Okay.
New Body is the song.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I love the song. Personally, if it were on the album, it would be up there for me. I love it.
It's a good track.
And I've been loving, as part of the promotion of the album, you've been dropping unreleased songs and demos and outtakes.
Yeah.
I've been loving that because it really allows people to see what really went into the album and what ideas we were bringing forth. And that song definitely stood out to me. And it was going to be placed between XXX and Infected. Love it. The other song that you had announced that has since been cut was Ducati.
Yeah. I know
Is
you
there
like my body.
Is there a story behind that song? Is there a reason it was cut?
You already know this. I was fucking over it. I was so over it.
Yeah.
I had been trying to make that song happen for about 3 years now. And it was one of those things where it was like, I need this song to be out so I can just forget about it, because I had already promised it to so many people and people knew it was coming and whatnot. And like my best friend was so excited for it to come out. And then I was just like, and like the album was coming out on their birthday. So like, I was like, here you go. Yeah. And then I had to be like, sorry, babes. I'm cutting it. Chopping board. I don't know. I feel like it just would have, it was just not necessary anymore. It was too much mental turmoil trying to get that shit sounding like good, I guess. It sounds like you've heard the demo. It sounds like a fucking Charlie XCX outtake.
I enjoy it. I think the house influence is definitely strongest on that song as opposed to the rest of the album. I feel like.
I'd say it's a little bit more hardcore.
Okay, well, I think I'm thinking more of like just the lead like synthesizer is very. Am I thinking of the right song? Now you're making
I
me
think you might be
question
thinking of Famous.
maybe because that was a new one for me.
Yeah,
We can
that
get
one.
into.
That one's like the house jam. Like, yeah,
So
that's
So yeah, I
I
was
like that song.
interested to know because that was the only new song that was not announced previously on the track list. Where does that song come from, and how early did you cut it from the track list?
So I don't actually. So it used to be on Spotify, not the vocal version. I
Oh,
released a double instrumental single, and it was the Famous instrumental mix, and then another song called Methylphenidate, which is ADHD medication. Um, and like Methylphenidate was just this like hard tech, like like very hardcore, like kind of song. And then Famous was like this juxtaposition of like being, it was like a very like hot girl instrumental. Like I had already had the lyrics and everything written by this point, but like I wasn't in a comfortable space like in like my head to be recording a song like that, I guess. So I just released the instrumental, and then I kind of kept writing it, and like improving that, and I tried getting a couple people on it. They never got back to me. But there is someone that I do want to give this song to. I'm still waiting to have that conversation with them. Whether or not I'll be on it, I don't know. But I really like it. I really like the writing. I think it is a good song. It
mhm.
just, and it was, yeah, it was early on the chopping block. To be fair, it was shockingly enough, I chose Ducati over that one.
Hmm. So it
Um,
was going to be on that in that place on the track list,
yeah,
kinda.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It was gonna be after Orange.
I definitely do relate to you a lot with kind of what you were talking about with releasing Ducati just to put it out into the world so you don't have to think
Yeah,
about it anymore. When I released Alpha Deluxe, that was kind of my mindset was just I was sitting on so many songs that people were waiting for. I had people asking for Canon and A major. I had people asking for Pull It Taut, people asking for Feel Something, Full Control. And so finally I was just like, you know what? Like I didn't have any plans for some of them. I even like that unreleased Come On Over remix that I never did anything with. It's just like, well, here it is. Like but I felt so liberated when I released it. It felt like something came off my shoulders in a way, like just it's out into the universe now. So I'm interested to know with your album finally about to come out, how do you feel?
I feel anxious.
Really?
Like, yeah, hella. Like, I've never released like my last full project was, and I'm not counting my Until Dawn EP because even I forget that exists. Even though it has my best song on there, but um, my last like full length project was released over 3 years ago. And this is also my first like full length project that has like vocals and stuff on it. Like it's it's this is me. This is like actually me. It's not someone putting together sounds. Like
Yeah.
this is like me, it is really scary actually. I don't have a big fan base. I don't really reach a lot of people, I guess. So I feel like that's what's toning down a lot of the anxiety about it, because I just think like, oh, who's actually gonna fucking hear it? But can I swear, I feel like it's way too late to have asked that.
I don't care. I mean, this isn't going on PBS.
I guess so.
But
But like, it's also really liberating because I'm so fucking proud of myself. That I've been trying to make this happen for like 3 years now. I've been trying to work on. It initially started as an album called Mannequin, and then it turned into Natural Androgyny, which was like another like form of this project, and then it was Carcinogenic, which was what I was like trying to do last year, but last year I was just a fucking wreck. I was a mess. I tried writing an album about my feelings when I didn't even know what my feelings were, and I wasn't like in touch with them or connected to them. I was feeling. And I think when you are actually in the process of feeling, you should not be making music about that, because it turns bitter, it's messy, you don't know what you're feeling, you're putting blame on people for things that you probably shouldn't be putting blame on. I was not okay. Like, it didn't happen, and I'm glad it didn't happen. I needed to make this album of confidence and growth and whatnot to kind of actually then be able to get aligned with my feelings and stuff like that. And I am writing, while I've kind of started the process of potentially making another project. I'm not sure, early days, haven't even fucking released the first one yet, but I'm writing a lot more now. And like New Body Balaclava comes into this. Like, I wrote that quite late in the process of making Vertebræ, but kind of like also in the process of writing these new songs. And I'm a lot more kind of like connected, and I'm more like assured about how I'm feeling, and I'm in tune with my emotion and kind of like my headspace a lot more. So I feel like I am able to kind of go back into spaces of like feeling not correct and stuff, and kind of like pull from those experiences, but have a tighter grasp on what's actually going on. So I can actually write something that's coherent and not just me sounding fucking like bitter about everything. And I can kind of take into account like all sides of a situation. Yeah, I've kind of been writing a lot about like life, like the cycle of life, I guess. It's like I'm writing mental health music, but I feel like in order to have like actually been able to do that, like I needed to let loose, I guess, and release the fun club adjacent deconstructed club record. Yeah.
Well, you definitely need to shed yourself of the anxiety, because you have nothing to be worried about. I've had this album on loop, and it is just a grower. Like, every time I think I like it.
What's your favorite VEDMA bar? What's your favorite bar? Come on now.
Favorite bar? As in like lyric?
Yeah.
I mean, why do you have to put me on the spot like that? Let me see what my notes.
Experimental. Give great oral like it's dental.
That one is good. I mostly, it's just so infectious to me. It's not like there's certain lines that stand out to me as much as it is just like the choruses of song. Like, for instance, the title track, like the B-E-R-T-E-B-R-A-E-A-E-A-E. Like, okay, period. Like, that's in my head now forever. Yeah, right? Like, the sewage, the ew, the... Like, I love like I said, a lot of the production choices are what really stand out to me the most. Like I said, Night in Berlin, I think the "What are you gonna do to me" line is the sexiest line on the whole album to me. Because I kind of love the ambiguity of it a little bit. It's not so in your face. It's not so like, and there are other moments in the album that are certainly in your face. But I like how that song's just a bit more tasteful with it. It's just kind of like...
Yeah, it's kind of like a diary entry almost in a way. It's like it could be taken as like a literal sense, but it could also just be taken as like pure fantasy, like someone kind of like reading like fucking, I don't know, like 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, I think it's honestly the production elements that really stand out to me the most on the album. Even on Sewage, I love the choir that you have kind of.
Oh yeah,
the sample.
That's very in tune with like old VEDMA. I feel like that was another thing I kind of wanted to bring to this album, was like mixing the old with the new. Yeah, like
bring it back.
I used to be I was a producer, and I like to experiment with like a lot of like different sounds. A lot of it was witch house and industrial, like electro industrial. And I did want to bring that back in with this album, because I kind of strayed away from it for a while, and I thought like, why did I do this? Because I could still kind of like talk about what I talk about with that kind of music anyway. So Sewage really worked. It really, really worked.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so there's only one music video that you filmed thus far, being Orange.
If you could call it that.
Well, and it is. I mean, it's one more music video than I have, so
I mean, yeah.
But I'm interested to know, do you have other things in the works, other things in mind? Should we be expecting another video soon?
Like, I'm just gonna be for real here, like, don't. I It's not that I don't want to, like, that is really like not the case. It's more that like I'm a bedroom artist at the end of the day. Like, I don't have budget. Like, this desk that I'm sitting on recording this interview like with you right here, this is the desk that I record my music with. This is my recording mic. Like, it's all very low budget. It's all self-taught, self-made, DIY, like to a T. You know, I try and do as much as I can. My album cover was shot on my phone. Like, it's I make do with what I have, and like, and Orange is the visualizer is a prime example of really, really making do with what you've got. My living room was my set. I was fucking leg spreading on a chair with high heels on. Do you know what? The video was very much giving like, oh, my mum's away, I'm gonna go dress up in her clothes
before she comes back.
Before she comes back.
Before she comes home.
But instead of like before my mum comes back, it's before my housemate comes back, and they're like, Carson, what the fuck are you doing? I'm just there like.
No, I get it. I'm the same way. I mean,
I just kind of did it for fun.
And it was fun.
After the interview was recorded, VEDMA saved a surprise for us and announced Vertebræ Extended. This features the song that we discussed titled Famous, as well as 3 other new tracks. If you head over to VEDMA's SoundCloud page, they were also generous enough to share some other demos, including my favorite one titled Balaclava New Body. I encourage everyone to check out the album. It's incredibly fun and catchy, and if you like electronic music, then VEDMA is an amazing artist to support.